What's up, everybody, and welcome to An Action Filmmaking Podcast, episode 50. I'm Tommy DiNucci, as always, here with my co-host, Mikey Messier. Mike, can you believe it? We've reached the 50 episode mark. I can't believe we've done it, but we've come this far, and I've been having a lot of fun.
It's been great, Tommy, and I really appreciate you promoting and making this show available to everybody. And it's on Tom DiNucci YouTube channel, as you know. Please copy and paste the URL. And it's been a great run, Tommy, and it's been slightly over a year because we had a couple of weeks off, but those were simply because there was something going on. But I want to thank the audience, most especially, Stephen E., Kim, so many regulars that tune in every week. We really appreciate them especially, but everybody that tunes in.
Yeah, I wanted to kick off with that too. Obviously, this show would just be Mike and I talking to ourselves if it weren't for you. So we can't thank you enough for spending some time with us every week. You know, life gets crazy, life gets busy. So the fact that you dedicate an hour or so of your time with us each week, it means the world to us. And we look forward to chatting with you guys every week too. Kind of gives us a little something to look forward to break up the week. Already, we got a couple of our faithful pals here. Stephen E., what's up, brother? Good to have you with us. And Michael Whitney, good to see you again, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Scott, what's up, brother? I hope you're doing well too. We're doing just fine here. Episode 50, 5-0.
Yep.
Yeah, like Mike said, aside from, we took a few weeks off. I shot a movie called The Collective last fall. We took a few weeks off. When we're in production with something, we'll take a week off here or there. But for the most part, we've been coming at you every week on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Like I said, I'm not always the biggest structure-based guy. I do like having my day somewhat planned out, and having this as a destination every Tuesday has been really fun for me. So this week we decided, you know what? We're not going to have exactly like a typical topic like we do every week. Normally we're either doing a topic on some form of filmmaking, whether it's writing, directing, editing, whatever, or we'll do a deep dive on a movie that we've worked on, or we'll do a deep dive on an actor that we've worked with. This week, we're just going to be reflecting on film and kind of just talking about what it's like to kind of battle through a year in the business and what a year can do and how much things can change in a year, and how the key is, what I've learned in this business is you can never stay too hot and you can never stay too cold, because you'll get excited about things that aren't going to happen, and then you'll get bummed out about things that you don't think are going to happen, and they do happen, and you'll be shocked in a positive way. So the key to this business, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be a writer, a director, a producer, you got to just kind of stay right in the middle somewhere. And that's not always easy. But today we're going to talk about some ways that you can do that and keep your shit in check when you feel like, what does a year mean in the world of a filmmaker? Michael Whitney, how does it feel working with Mercedes Moné and everyone else? Man, it's been a blast. Those are definitely some of the things that, we'll cover deep in detail. I plan on doing a whole episode on The Collective later in August. That movie's going to be coming out August 4th. So be on the lookout for that. I don't want to give away too much ahead of time before we go into deep detail on that one. But let's just say Mercedes Moné is a super talent, and you're going to be very excited with what you see from her in this movie. Laza, good day, all, and greetings from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Good to see you, Laza. Great to have you with us. And Scott says, counting down the days till The Collective. Thank you, Scott. I'm really excited for that one too, man. Just an action-packed, fun kind of love letter to the old school action movies back in the day that I grew up on. Okay. So, Mike, last week we did a show on film festivals. Got some pretty good feedback on that. I think there might be some people that are going to be submitting some movies. I actually had one guy reach out to me and say, you know what? This makes me want to get my camera right now and go shoot something just so that I can submit it into a festival. So we love to hear that.
Yeah, that was a great show. And like I said, even last week, we probably could do 5 shows on film festivals and, running Avalonia Festival of Short Films myself. Recently, we just had Avalonia Photography Competition. I had my 3rd still photo competition and announced the winners and worked on the website all this past weekend. There's a huge world of film festivals, and we could probably revisit that topic in the future. But for the one we did on it already, I think it was pretty well received.
Yeah, it's definitely a great place to go out and have your day in the sun. I mean, listen, we all dream of being at the Oscars someday and winning a statue.
Sure.
But the reality is that might just not happen. That's a high that's the high watermark. But you can still get that same feeling of achievement and accomplishment by going to a film festival, entering your film, and taking down a win, and feeling that victory. So yeah, we were excited about that. If you plan on entering your film in a film festival, go back and check out episode 49, and we'll give you some tips on that. Also, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting my YouTube channel. I am officially over 850,000 total views on
That's
YouTube.
great.
I'm marching towards a million. This is me marching.
The March.
So, we hope to get a million views in the next couple of weeks. So
Dare I label it the Million View March?
we're trying to get a lot of views, and I'm excited to get there, but we'll see what happens.
Yes.
All right, so still waiting on this SAG situation to settle
Mm.
itself out. That's been a little frustrating. But the good news about that, and what I'm really excited about, is it's coming to a head. If you haven't been following along, I'll just briefly go over it with you. The Screen Actors Guild is currently negotiating with the Motion Picture Association to basically get better residuals, get better protection for actors. There's so many topics. We're not going to get into all that today, but just know that they're fighting the good fight. Fran Drescher came out, who's the president of SAG, and she made a video the other day basically saying that the negotiations are going very well. So I'm trying to remain optimistic. But the truth is, as a filmmaker, you're kind of in limbo until this SAG thing is sorted out. If anyone's been playing along at home or wants to know, I've got a movie that I've been trying to direct for about a month now, and we can't pull the trigger until we find out what's happening. So I hope to give you more good news on that next week when we talk. Hopefully, by next week, this SAG thing will be sorted out, and I'll be letting you in on a little secret about where I'm headed to make my next movie. Fingers crossed. So all my and action people out there, light a candle, say a prayer, do a rain dance, whatever you do for good luck. Uh, let's hope that SAG issue just kind of settles itself out.
Well, Tommy, if I could just jump in, sometimes as actors, we think so much about our own careers, our own selves, and well, a strike might help us. It might help us with residual payoffs for streaming, which is the main topic here for this particular situation. But if you take a look at it from the filmmaker's perspective, yourself, a director, cinematographers, production assistants, everybody who works on a film crew, everybody is losing income. And in this entertainment industry, filmmaking, TV, etc., when you rely on gig to gig payoffs, there's no, it's not like when you're a teacher, a teacher in the education system, or a doctor where you have a steady place of employment. This is really the wild, wild west in many ways to be involved in the filmmaking world. And as much as a SAG-AFTRA actor myself, I support what's going on. I feel for people like yourself that have projects that are put on hold because of this situation. So hopefully it will be resolved soon, and it will come to a fair deal for revenue streaming residuals for everybody. And it's a bit of a feeling of less than empowering when we as individuals can't really control the fate of our own careers at times. That's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's just, look, I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what kind of person you are. Nobody likes being in limbo, right? I mean, it's a horrible place to be. You're in this professional purgatory right now where you're trying so hard to make some moves, but you can't plan anything out if you're not sure that you can even use actors. So we won't get into that too much, but let's just hope for some good news next week. Also, another little update that I wanted to give this Thursday, 6/29. Be on the lookout on the Lifetime Movie Network, LMN. I was in a movie last year, we shot it, called Sins of the Preacher's Wife. And I'm pretty excited about it. Great movie. I got to star alongside Vanessa Angel and Anna Marie Dobbins. I play a total psycho in this movie, but it's not really my fault. I'm a product of my environment. So I don't want to give away too much about that movie because we're going to be doing a deep dive on it. I would say sometime in the next few weeks. But great movie, directed by Glenn Ciano, produced by Chad Verdi Jr. and Paul Luba. Just really fun working with that group. That's sort of like the home team. So it's fun working with them on this movie. And yeah, we're excited for Sins of a Preacher's Wife, or Sins of the Preacher's Wife. This isn't just Sins of any Preacher's Wife. It's the Preacher's Wife. So be on the lookout for that. That's on LMN, and that's going to be again. That's one of the Lifetime Movie Network channels. Search your local listings and be on the lookout for that on Thursday night. And let's see what some of our And Action faithful have to say here. Ariana, what's up, Ariana? Hey, Tommy and Mike, congrats on episode 50. Thank you. You know, it's crazy how fast this has been. A fast year, man. I don't know about you, but 2023, it's crazy to think we're already more than halfway through this bitch. Laza, nothing like old school action movies. Laza, I know you're a big fan of the Stallone movies. I know you're a big fan of the Arnold movies. Probably got a Wesley Snipes Sweet Tooth in there for you somewhere. All the 90s classics, Bruce Willis. Love those guys.
I believe that Laza has Paul Hogan Crocodile Dundee bed sheets and comforter, Tommy, there in Australia.
Well, that's not a knife. This is a knife. Charlie Short Films, my good friend Charlie. How are you, brother? It's good to have you with us. And Laza, thank you, man. We're really excited about episode 50. You know, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back too hard, but, you know, we're really committed to this podcast. And I can't tell you how excited I am that other people actually listen to it, as funny as that sounds. Stephen E., remember, everyone hit the like button. Yes,
oh, thanks, buddy.
Those likes go a long way for the algorithm. We're trying to trick these robots into thinking that we're a little more popular than we are. Let's see if we can use that old human intuition to mine the algorithm and trick those electronic sons of bitches.
Tommy, I know we said thanks earlier, but to guys like Stephen E., Andres Sanchez, I want to put a shout out to as well, because a lot of and Laza does this as well. They share the show on their social media, and some of these folks have been so kind to make us graphics. I think Andres and Stephen E. have both actually made graphics for the show, which is very helpful. So thanks again.
Yeah, guys, if you haven't done it yet, it means the world to me. You know, you like the show. Obviously, don't do anything if you don't like the show. But if you really like the show and you want to post something out there, I guarantee you, if you tag me in it, I will share you. I will share your post. I'll put it up on my story. The stories are great because people see the stories on Instagram, and, you know, that gets a lot of traction. About once a week, usually on a Thursday, you'll see on my Instagram channel, I'll release like a 2-minute, 3-minute promo of our episode. That would probably be one of the best things for you to share. So be on the lookout for that. And I hope to see you on your, I hope to see me on your story. And if I do, I will share it and put it on mine and hopefully filter some views back onto your account. And we can all, one hand washes the other over here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Stephen E. has a YouTube channel that I subscribe to. I enjoyed a lot of his kind of motivational speeches and so forth. So, I mean, it's all good there, buddy.
All right. Well, very cool. I'll have to check out Stephen E.'s page. Okay. So, guys, we talked about it. You know, never get too high, never get too low. And what does that mean? We're not saying, when we say never get too high, never get too low, we're not talking about, you know, smoking crack cocaine or doing barbiturates, downers.
That's episode 52.
We're just talking about your emotional mindset. You know, the movie business can really wreak havoc on your mental status because, like Mike said earlier when we were talking about the strike, this isn't like any other job. There's no pay window that you can walk to every week and collect a check. Nobody's going to really be, you know, fighting too hard for you. Everybody is kind of, and I've used this comparison before, and it really does help me, and I think it can help you guys too if you're serious about this business. Every filmmaker, every director, writer, actor, you got to think of yourself as your own company. Like, you are a company, and you are the CEO of that company. You're the head marketing, you're chief of marketing. You're the CFO. You handle all the financing. You're the entire board of directors of your own company. And that's how I've kind of always tried to look at it. And with that, like any other business, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And as I sit here on episode 50 and reflect back on this last year, I realize there have been a lot of ups and there have been a lot of downs. And I also realized that it's funny, some of the projects that I would have bet anything, I would have bet an index finger on happening, aren't happening. Those projects went belly up. They're dead, or they've been shelved, or for whatever reason, and sometimes, small reasons, sometimes a number of reasons. But for whatever reason, some of the projects that, last year at this time I thought were definitely going to happen, it's nothing but crickets on that end. And on the other side, there are some projects and even people that I didn't think I'd have a chance to work with again, and have gotten some exciting phone calls to do some really exciting things later in this year and hopefully into 2024. Now, had you told me that a year ago, I would have said, "No, come on, that's crazy. That's not going to happen." So again, it just gets back to, this is such an unpredictable business. You really got to try to stay in the middle mentally, and just, it's great to hope for things, but measure everything with a little bit of realism as well.
Yeah, Tommy, I can see that. And when you talk about staying in the middle, that's really the only thing you can control is your own emotions and how you respond to things, good and bad. We can't control the roller coaster, but we can control how we feel about it. If we put our arms in the air, if we grab on tight, and it's a interesting world we're in.
Yeah, it really is. And one of the things you have to do, we've talked about, you got to be mentally flexible, right? You got to be resilient. You got to understand that, if you take 50 shots, 49 of them are probably going to miss. And you just got to keep, making these attempts at getting things going. And one of those things that you can do to help, and this is something that's always worked really well for me, is you have to have a lot of irons in the fire, right? Creatively. And not just creatively, but also business contacts. You need to think of it like, this isn't like I'm going to make a weird reference, but it's almost like, back in the day, like Major League Baseball, it was known for, like, players would be known for being on one team, and they're on that team for 25 years and they retire with that team, and then that's it. And, people are just like, go down in folklore as, well, that person's a Boston Red Sox, Ted Williams, guys like that, spend the whole career with one team. Well, guess what? It ain't really like that anymore in sports and in real life. No one's going to be playing for one team for their whole career anymore. It's very rare. And it's the same thing with being a filmmaker. You've got to make sure that you have a lot of options where, okay, well, if I can't work and I can't play in this one sandbox here, I got to make sure that there's another sandbox that I can go play in. And not just one, but probably 2, 3, 4, or 5 other playgrounds where I can go make my movies and do my thing. And here's why. Again, this doesn't come from a place of any kind of, no one's trying to sabotage you. The reality is, it's so difficult to make a movie that you just need to have a lot of different attempts. So we've heard keeping a lot of irons in the fire. And what I like to do is treat it like triage. And if you don't know what triage is, you're clearly not in the medical profession. But basically, triage is when, if there's some kind of if there's some kind of a disaster in a hospital, what the doctors will do is they'll kind of line up all the injured people, and you start working on the most injured one first. So
Okay.
the guy with the big gash in his head, you might want to sew that up. The guy with the cut on the arm, well, okay, we'll look at that in a minute. I got to get to this guy's bleeding fucking head first. So that's called triage, meaning you focus on the most dire and important situation in the moment. So I like to look at my movies like I treat it like triage. And when I treat things like triage, basically, I've always got the one project that's the most important. This is the one project that we were really focusing on. But at the same time, I still try to pay attention to literally a half a dozen, sometimes even more, other projects that I'm slowly pushing down the field, shepherding, fostering, whatever kind of word you like to use to describe it. And sometimes that means just okay, I'm going to spend 15, 20 minutes on this one project today just because it's been a while and I want to break it out again. Um, you got to kind of treat your day as a filmmaker. You've got to treat your day almost like you're back in school. It's almost like high school in a weird way, which don't get me wrong, I was a terrible student in school. But what I mean is, in high school, you're changing classes and you're going to history class, then you're going to math class, then you're going to spend an hour in English class, and then maybe you go do some PE, run around the gym a little bit. Subjects, right? You have a whole fucking day, but in that whole day, you're learning 6 or 7 subjects, you're playing some games with your friends, you're playing a sport, you're doing some kind of social activity. You're keeping all that shit together so that it's not like you go to school and spend 6 hours in math class. First off, that would be enough to make a lot of people want to drop out, people like me who are bad at math. But really, it's about becoming well refined in multiple facets. So, one thing that I've been really trying to do in this last year is kind of treat my day like I'm back in high school. And the nice thing is there are no teachers breathing down my neck. There's no annoying bullies in the hallway. Really, what I mean is break your day up into subjects so that, let's say you're writing 2 or 3 scripts. There's no reason why you can't write one script for an hour, take a little break, write the next one, work on this one for an hour. Some people find that challenging. Some people say, oh, I can't and then I get confused and I'm not focusing on just one thing. And maybe that's the case for you. I'm just telling you what's worked for me so that I'm not so. And Mike, I know that you've spoke on this before, and I'll let you talk for a minute or two. I feel like sometimes in this business, we get creative blinders and we can just kind of think about one project and we spend all of our time and energy on this one project and we might spend months developing this thing. And then just like I told you a year ago, there were projects that I was hell bent on that it was going to happen, that today they're dead.
Right.
Well, guess what? If you focused all your time and you put all your eggs in that one project's basket, you're going to really feel bad when that thing just doesn't work out for whatever reason. Now, I'm not trying to sound negative and say like, oh, your project's not going to happen, but we all know that's a reality. So again, when you break your day up into little subjects, I've found that, you can give yourself a lot more chances at the plate.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, Tommy. It's a tough balance because, you watch guys like, say a Tony Robbins or a Dr. Wayne Dyer guy, and some of their themes, not to misquote them, it's focus your energy on one thing. We hear that a lot when it comes to general advice. And I think that's good advice too. But the problem is, as you're saying, in the film industry, entertainment industry at large, when there's so many things outside the control of Tommy or Mike or Steven or anybody, how can you can't manipulate all these different variables that are out there that may or may not greenlight your project. So what you're saying, Tommy, is a way to kind of balance the odds in your favor a bit more is to have 5, 6, 7 projects going on at different stages of development or just the possibility of development, whatever it might be. But I see that can be a real issue. I can relate to what you're talking about because I had a couple of years, Tommy, where I really focused on a couple of different scripts and, really they didn't come to fruition. And I look back and I say, did I waste a couple of years on each of those things that I was so single-minded? Now, obviously, some good came out of those situations, but did the project that I had in mind ever hit the screen in the way that I envisioned it? No. I mean, quite simply, they did not. And should I have done what you're saying, which is kind of spread my brain a bit around? I can't really answer that. I mean, we can always do the 20/20 hindsight stuff. I think each individual has to find for them the comfort zone of focused attention versus spreading the wealth of their attention. It's going to be different for every single person, but I like what you're saying, Tommy, because it's a good counterbalance to some of this advice we typically get from the Tony Robbins types of that single-minded focus type of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've all heard it before. I don't mean to say it again, but like really, when you put all of your eggs in one basket, you're kind of setting yourself up for a potential failure. Another big thing that I do every day, and this is kind of along the lines of treating things like trying to be a little more structured. I'm flipping through my notebook here, and you'll see what I like to do a lot of times is, every day I kind of I just got a list of everything that I have to do that day.
Oh, there you go.
Well, it's not crazy. I start my day, right at the top. I'll write, for example, today it'd just say Tuesday, and I like to number my list, and I just put it all down there, and that helps me stay focused. It's a little bit of a kind of a map that I use, whereas I say, oh shit, it's already lunchtime, and I've been on the first item on my list here the whole first part of the day. I better move on to something else. And again, look, this doesn't work for everyone, but for me, sometimes like if I'm banging my head against the wall on one project and I'm not quite getting to where I want to get, it helps me to kind of move on to something else. And you'd be surprised, like sometimes when you're working on project B, you'll get a great idea for project A, and the mind is funny like that. It's like, it's like you can't force your brain. You have to kind of like let the ideas come out. And sometimes you almost have to trick yourself by keeping your brain occupied on other things, and then those ideas will hit you. All right, let's check in here. Laza says Stallone and Snipes and Demolition Man was a great film. They really speak to the times and the world and the PC culture chaos these days. I love Demolition Man. I was a big fan of that movie, and you're right. That's probably my favorite Wesley Snipes movie. He's just such a badass in that movie.
More so than Hard Luck, where I had a fight scene with Wesley Snipes, Tommy.
Okay, maybe it's my second favorite Wesley movie, second to Hard Luck.
Taco Bell, man. Yeah.
Hi, Steven. What's your YouTube channel, Steven? Send that YouTube channel out. Looks like you got a new subscriber. Hey, Claudia. How are you today?
It's a first time responder. I think that's the first time we've gotten Claudia's lovely thumb on our show. So thanks, Claudia.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. Welcome to the show. Laza, my mom was a primary school. I think he means a teacher, right?
I think he was homeschooled, perhaps.
Okay, well, you like to be naughty at school to annoy your mom. Laza, I'm not surprised that you were a little bit of a fresh kid. Not shocked at all. Charlie says the variety of this business is so great. It's so wide open. There's no other business you can compare with filmmaking, I think, anyway. Now, I couldn't tell you, I couldn't agree with you more, Charlie. Someone the other day on my Facebook page commented on something that I was promoting something, and they were like, how do you do all these projects? Like it's amazing that you do all these. And I'm like, well, number one, because that's how I earn a living. You know what I mean? Like if I just did one movie a year, I'd be in the poorhouse. And two, I love it, man. There's nothing like it. I didn't tell the lady on my post that I'd be in the poorhouse if I didn't have more than one project, but I said, it's the greatest business in the world. It's really, for me at least, I just love it so much. Which is why it's kind of fun. If you really love it that much, it's nice to break it down and like, damn, I worked on 3 or 4 different projects today. Claudia says, I'm good. As a later in life actress, you guys inspire me. Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm so happy that we can give you a little inspiration, and maybe someday we'll get to work together. All right, so let's keep things moving down the line. So guys, again, thank you so much for being with us this last year. We had a lot of really great episodes. Some of my favorites. I love talking about just filmmaking in general. We did some great episodes on writing, just writing in general. We talked about what it's like to write the first draft, and I wanted to kind of do a little bit more of that in the next 50. So things like just an episode on directing, on how to direct actors, I think could be helpful. I think we plan on doing an episode on just the outlining process. We've talked about, did a little bit in reverse. We're kind of doing this one Tarantino style, non-linear storytelling. But, we've talked about the meat of the script and writing. We've talked about the first draft. Maybe we'll go back and just talk about, okay, guys, this is really just how to make an outline the right way. And that's going to be such a guide for you. So that's one thing. Another topic that I wanted to do down the road, I've made a few documentaries myself. Documentary film is a totally different ball game. It's a little bit more of a, it's a different style. That's all it is. It's still making movies, but it's a different style. And I'd love to do an episode on that. But I wanted to take this time now to turn it over to you guys, and feel free to drop in the comments If you have any ideas of some topics for us that you'd like to hear us talk about, maybe some things that, those questions that you've been afraid to ask people in the industry, we don't care. You can ask us anything. You don't have to feel bad or feel like you're going to be silly for asking something. So if there's a topic, if there's a question, anything you want to know from us, give us some ideas. Drop it down in the comments, and we'll be sure to, if it makes sense, maybe craft an episode around your idea and what you want to hear about on And Action.
Yeah, I think that's great, Tommy. I think to open it up to our viewers, because we have a lot of loyal viewers and that have been very interactive with us. I'd like to just reflect for a moment, Tommy, on the first 50 episodes. And I was just thinking, I don't know if I have a favorite episode per se, but I just kind of like the fact that there were times that either one of us would be traveling or we would have to deviate from our usual Tuesday 11 a.m. And we still, for the most part, did shows. I mean, I think there was a week that I was in Texas working on a film as an actor myself, and I'm in the middle of this weekly hotel situation and doing the show with you. And we actually got pretty good audio on that one. And then another time I was up in New England and happened to be in a different room in the DiNucci compound. And we were still doing the show as if we were in different rooms just to keep the feeling of the show. And I thought that was a lot of fun. So I'm just kind of proud of us that we, kept the momentum going. And, for my own part, I'm glad I got this headset worked out because I was very frustrated for several weeks with audio issues. But the show, yourself and the audience kind of hung in there. And until I figured out this system, that was bothering me a lot. And just the different things that we went through to keep the show going. I think I did one show from a library. There was one week where you had to handle the show on your own because I was literally in the process of moving, my residence, and I just couldn't do the show that one week. So you handled it pretty well in yourself, and I still tuned in to give you support. So I think just the consistency. And I think, Tommy, one thing that I think was an early problem for us was what day of the week are we doing this show? What time? That was negotiable for the three or 4 weeks, I think. But I think around week 5, we said, this Tuesday at 11 is pretty good. And let's, as much as possible, keep with that. And the audience has understood that sometimes we have to deviate. But for the most part, we do Tuesdays at 11 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, it's been really nice to stay consistent. And, a lot of that's because of you guys. I mean that. And I know this sounds cheesy, but everyone watching this, it's like there have been days when, like, not often, because I really do enjoy doing this, but there have been some days when, like, I'm trying to juggle my actual, work stuff and, like, oh, I got a call with this DP later on and I got to do this and I got to do that. Oh, man, I got to do this show. And it's great to think of the Stephenese and to think of people like Ariana and to think of, Charlie Short Films and Laz and just all these great people who are on our feed. And I'm like, I don't want to disappoint these folks. I could go on there and talk with them. So it's kind of like when you're working out. I just watched the Arnold doc. I know I keep talking about that. I fucking love the Arnold doc on Netflix. But, it's like the accountability factor. When you work out with a training partner, like how Arnold and Franco used to hit the gym. It's like, well, Arnold's not going to miss a gym session because then Franco's going to be slacking on his gym session. So you give each other a little accountability. And I appreciate you having taken me to task and making sure that we keep this consistent. So again, I don't mean to make this such a mutual admiration society today, but we're excited about 50 episodes. I mean, it's hard to do 50 jumping jacks, let alone 50 episodes of a damn podcast. So let's keep on task here. We've done some great deep dives on the actors, some biographies, if you will. Those are fun for me because I think, it's fun I feel like everybody loves behind the scenes stories and people always want to learn some nugget of information about a famous person or a famous actor that, maybe they didn't know or maybe they've never heard of. So I think down the road in the next 50 episodes, some deep dives on actors that you can look forward to is we're definitely going to be doing a show on Don Johnson.
Sure.
I'm excited about that. I've worked with Don Johnson twice now. Once, of course, in my movie Vault, but the second time recently in a movie that's coming out in August, The Collective. So Don stars in that movie. And it was great to, let me tell you, working with Don the second time was so fucking different than working with Don the first time in a great way, meaning like, the proverbial ice was just so broken. And there was something about, even though again, even though a couple years had spanned between Vault and the Collective, I instantly had a little bit of credibility with Don on day one of the Collective because he had seen Vault. He respected Vault. He thought it was a decent movie. So he kind of knew what he was getting into with me. And we'll go into more of that when we talk on Don. But we're going to be definitely getting into some Don Johnson fun later in the year. Going to be doing a deep dive on Chaz Palminteri. For the Italian Americans out there, Chaz Palminteri is probably close to being on like the Mount Rushmore of, mafia characters. If you look at his character in A Bronx Tale, I mean, people love Sonny in A Bronx Tale. It's a legendary character, and I got a chance to direct Chaz, and just a brilliant guy, and more than just an actor. He's a writer himself. He's a director himself. So that's a guy we'll be talking about, Mike.
Yeah, he created Bronx Tale as a stage play, I believe. Yeah, I believe he had it as a one-man show on stage, and then it became a film with De Niro and everybody else. So he's a great legend.
Yeah, we're going to be excited to talk about him. And of course, we're going to be doing a deep dive on Megan Fox at some point in the next, handful of episodes. Recently had a fun kind of a story, which is definitely worth TMZing. But Tyson Ritter, who is a star of Johnny and Clyde, he's also the lead singer of the All American Rejects, had a little beef with Machine Gun Kelly on the set of Johnny and Clyde.
Wow.
And he went out and talked all about it. And as much as I want to save that story for the Megan Fox episode, I don't want to get too into it. But I will say this. The beef was real. I had never said anything about it because, frankly, it's not my business to, if something happens on a movie set that is settled and nobody gets killed and there's nobody injured, I'm not going to go and make it a big deal out of it. I like to keep things in-house, as they say. It's really nobody's business what this kind of beef was over. So I wasn't going to say nothing about it until Tyson went out in an interview. He did a podcast and he told the whole story from start to finish. Hold on, I should say he told Tyson's side of the story,
his version of events. Yeah,
I must say that there. I was not in the trailer when the beef happened, so he told his version of the story, and it's kind of worth a Google, to be honest with you. Punch in your Google machine, Tyson Ritter, Machine Gun Kelly. Those are the only keywords you're going to need. And you can hear all about this beef. Pretty wild. This is the only thing that I'll say. I remember the day I was told that Machine Gun Kelly was coming to visit the set of Johnny and Clyde. And I remember it was a kind of an odd situation where we were shooting in Rhode Island. And I think, as luck would have it, he happened to be doing a show in Boston either that night or the next night. So he was in town. And Boston's only 45 minutes to an hour away from Rhode Island. So he wanted to see his girlfriend. And he requested to come and visit set. And I remember finding out about it a little late in the game. Like, I probably found out about it. He didn't show up. He was there for like the second half of the day. A film set, at least bare minimum, you're working 12 hours. So they're 12-hour days. And if you're the director, like, you're probably there early. You're working a 14-hour day. So it's like, I didn't even find out that he was coming to visit until 6 hours into our day. And there I am at lunch, taking my little lunchtime break. And they're like, Machine Gun Kelly is coming. Is that okay with you? And I was like, no, it's really not, to be honest with you. And I didn't want him to come. And this is no disrespect to Machine Gun Kelly. He's a terrific guy, I'm sure. Frankly, on that day, I met him very, very briefly. It wasn't a big thing. But I just couldn't afford to have any distractions that day.
Yeah, that's a big distraction.
Meaning, like, we had to shoot fucking 8-9 pages in a totally different location that we hadn't been shooting in the entire shoot. Everything's spread out. It's distance to travel, even from one spot to another within the one location. And the last thing I wanted in my mind was, even if everything went swimmingly,
right,
just the excitement and confusion and oh, there's another big celebrity on set now. And how do I know? My crew's all respectable, but you can't help but maybe they might want to snap a picture with him. Oh, they might just want to look at him. They might just want to fucking look at him. And now suddenly my crew is focused on something that they shouldn't be focused on. And I hate to sound like I'm driving a tight ship, but I have to, especially when we have a day like that to make. So I was vehemently against it. I did not want him to visit that. And it's kind of ironic that or maybe coincidental. Sometimes I use the word ironic wrong. It's just kind of funny that I was all against it. And sure enough, there was a big fucking dust up on set because of him being there. So that's that. We're going to tell you the whole story and more on our Megan Fox episode.
And I just briefly, I would say that puts you in a tough spot, because it's like, if you say no Machine Gun Kelly visit, then you're the bad guy, and you've got this, pop culture princess Megan Fox who's doing your movie, and you don't want to upset her or make her feel alienated. So it kind of puts you in a tough position from the get-go with that one.
Yeah, and I quickly realized that, me being asked if I mind if he's there, it didn't really matter. He was
right.
He was coming no matter what. And like you said, and I understand that, we wanted to, hey, who would deny anyone of seeing their significant other, the star of your movie? You're going to deny them of seeing their significant other if they're only 45 minutes away? I would have looked crazy. But the reality is, I had this fucking spidey sense that some shit was going to happen. And it did. And you're going to find out all about it on the Megan Fox episode coming up down the road. Let's go ahead here and see what everyone's saying on the feed. All right. Stephen E. says, the infamous porch. If you didn't know, guys, where I am, this is the porch. This is where I do all my work. I've been working out of this porch my entire career. Just about every screenplay I've ever written, just about every concept for anything I've ever made, any audition that I've ever had, the shit goes down right here on the porch. Many celebrities have been on the porch. It's a who's who of people, everyone from Eric Roberts to Kenan Thompson to Theo Rossi. There's so many people have hung out with me on the porch, because usually if I'm making a movie, I'll invite an actor over, but you want to see some footage. So the porch is kind of a fun place. And Stephen E. says, if the infamous porch, if that porch could tell stories, LOL. Let me tell you, brother, this porch would have some stories. That's for damn sure. All right. So Laza says, yeah, I posted it again as I forgot to put teacher as the primary score. Yeah, I kind of figured. Listen, Laza, I'm not trying to be one of these guys that calls people out onto the carpet. I knew what you meant. I knew your mom wasn't an actual school building. That wouldn't make any sense. All right, Stephen E., I understand that, Mike. The library is a good friend. When my Wi-Fi at home didn't work, my acting class would be in the tutor rooms in the library with Zoom. Yeah, man, we said this last week, but Stephen E. makes a great point. Mike makes it, excuse me, pardon me. Mike makes a great point, along with Stephen E. Libraries are an untapped resource that I don't think enough people go to. They're often air conditioned in the summertime, nice and
yeah.
So, if you're looking for a change of pace and you want to go kind of find a different, just a different world to write in, go down to your local library. They ain't going to bite you.
Hey, Tommy, let's before we let this show slip away, I just want to ask you, and then maybe I'll take it on too, is over the last year or so, because it's been about a year that we've started doing this show, do you see any personal changes in you or your approach to films or your approach to life, or any life events that have come up or career events that you want to make note of?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Again, I've tried to, with my career, I have had some pretty cool ups and some pretty cool accomplishments, but I definitely don't stop and smell the roses enough.
Sure.
And I find that I often am kind of always just running, meaning like I finish a project and I'm just running into the next one. So, if I could think back on some things that, I'm proud of in the last year, I'm really proud of The Collective. Making The Collective was really special for me because, aside from, I love the cast. I mean, Ruby Rose, Don Johnson, Tyrese Gibson, Lucas Till, Paul Ben Victor, awesome cast. But really, that was probably my biggest budget ever. and I got to see like what it's like to work on a bigger scale movie with a bigger budget, and to have things like stunt performers training and rehearsing days in advance, so that when we go onto set, they just boom, everybody just knows what they're doing. Uh, it was exciting to kind of, I guess you could say, like see what that level of play is like. So I'm proud of that, and I can't wait for everyone to see that. I'm proud of Sins of the Preacher's Wife, which comes out on Thursday. As far as an actor goes, you'll notice, guys, I don't really talk about my acting that much. It's kind of like I almost don't want people to know I'm an actor, as crazy as that sounds. My bread and butter has always been filmmaking. I paid for this house with directing and writing movies. That's what pays my bills. But acting is my passion, and I love it. But at the same time, like, I'm a much better director writer than I am an actor. And that's just me talking. But I will say this: I'm very proud of my work in Sins of the Preacher's Wife. I think it was one of the first movies where, like, because here's the thing, guys. Like, I've been acting for fucking almost 20 years now. I remember my first anything that I did. My first speaking line. I was probably 23 years old. I'm gonna be 39 on July 10th. So that's a lot of fucking years at this. And it sounds crazy, guys, and anyone out there who feels like they might be a little stiff when they're performing, it wasn't until probably last year on Sins of the Preacher's Wife where I finally felt a little fucking confident. Like, I finally felt like, okay, this machine here, the little guys behind the levers and behind the steering wheels inside my brain, they finally know how to drive the fucking ship properly.
Sure.
Like, I finally like felt confident. And we've all heard it before, like Bruce Lee, the law of 10,000 kicks. You got to do something 10,000 fucking times to master it. It's the same thing with acting. So, like, yeah, it's taken a long time, but that's one of the things that I'm proud of. Just being able to be in a little bit more control of my acting abilities, and really, guys, not getting nervous. Like, that's one of the things too. Like, nerves are gonna fucking destroy your acting ability. So when you finally feel a little confident in what you can do, then the character is gonna start to come out a little bit more.
Got it. Very good.
How about you, Mike? What are you proud of over the last year?
Well, I think at the beginning of this year, if we go back to, June, July, August of 2022, I think around that time I was doing some traveling. Like I said, I had that tour of Texas. I went out there for the San Angelo Film Festival, where my documentary Disregard the Vampire, Mike Messier documentary, played. And then I actually drove out from Florida to Texas just as a hurricane was coming in. So people were kind of like, hey, you're leaving just in time to avoid the rainfall or whatever. And I remember sleeping somewhere in an Alabama state park for one night just to save on the hotel fee. So, but I got to San Angelo one piece and then went back to Austin, and I had a really good trip. And then, Tommy, a lot of the stuff for me this year has been non-film related. Exactly. I mean, I've put some attention basically onto weight loss, just losing some pounds. I really just started that in a Super Bowl weekend for, I've been, as a lot of people do, struggling with weight for years, and then just hearing I think I'm listening to the audiobook Sugar, Salt, Fat, which I do recommend, because they really get into how the food industry in the United States in the last 30 or 40 years has not done us any favors. So something clicked in where I just said, man, I got to really reduce my amount of sugar intake, and I've been able to lose some considerable pounds since the Super Bowl weekend because of that.
All right, Mike.
Oh, thanks, buddy. And then moving, physically moving to a different location. Once again, that took some energy, quite a bit of energy. And then also, I think a really big thing for me, Tommy, is the visual artwork, getting into the paintings that I've been doing since December. I think for me, that's been a very productive creative outlet, because that's something I can do anywhere. I mean, I've literally been in the car with my buddy, driving to a baseball game, and I'm doing a painting on a canvas in the shotgun seat while we're driving. But a lot of times I go to the coffee house, or I go at home or wherever, and I can do 2 or 3 or 4 paintings in one day without the collaborative efforts of filmmaking, you know, in which
Might I make a request?
Yeah, sure.
Or a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you tried creating some of your artwork in the driver's seat while you're driving? You know, like drive. You can still drive the car, but prop your canvas on the wheel and just kind of draw, look up, steer, draw, look up, steer. Check the rear view, check the side view, draw, steer. I mean, you might get some really great stuff like that. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
if I run over somebody, I can say, "Hey, it was in the name of art."
You're not allowed to text while you're driving, but I
Right.
don't know that there's a law anywhere that says that you can't paint while you're driving.
No paint while driving.
I mean,
So
I'm not a police officer.
right.
I don't know. There could be, but I think that if you're driving and painting, I think that's okay.
It is now.
And then if you get pulled over, just say, "Officer, instead of giving me a ticket, I am going to give you the gift of art." And you give them that, and then you know what happens? The handcuffs immediately go right on your wrist, and it's all on the body cam.
Then I'm on TMZ or Cops or
Mike,
whatever.
I am very proud of you for your weight loss. That is no small feat, man. We've all been there before, and it's a challenge. Food tastes damn good, but remember, nothing tastes better than feeling thin. God damn it.
Well, buddy, and we don't need to do a whole episode on it, but the things that I've been doing, buddy, is I've been eating a lot of yogurt, the non-sugar yogurt, because that really helps with your there's a term, your gut, basically, probiotics, prebiotics. And then I still go to the drive-through once in a while, buddy, but I don't eat the buns on the hamburgers. I just don't eat those buns because the processed white flour hamburger bun is probably the worst part of a fast food meal.
You know what's funny, bud? Our dear friend Kevin Nash, pro wrestler, shout out Kevin Nash, Big Daddy Cool.
Yeah.
He told me that one of the things that, quote, the boys would do while they're traveling is, you got to get your protein in because these guys are all big and jacked up, but they still want to stay lean. So what you're doing right now is what the wrestlers would do. They'd say, if we were in a fix, like, because if you're a bodybuilder, I don't know how this turned into a nutrition and health podcast, but hey, why not? Let's take a walk for a minute. If you're a bodybuilder, you have to get protein in about every 2 to 3 hours. You should be taking a little shot of protein, 25 to 45 grams. So these guys need that. Otherwise, they're not going to stay. Those physiques won't stay inflated like they like it. So yeah, if they couldn't get to their protein, and especially back in the 90s and 2000s when you couldn't get things like protein shakes and healthy meals so readily available at gas stations, they'd go to McDonald's, they'd get themselves a few burgers, they'd ditch all the buns, and they would just eat the protein, and they were able to stay somewhat lean on that. But I will say this, man, because again, and maybe someday we'll share a photo or even some footage if it exists. I think it might. I did a bodybuilding show when I was 19. So I was really into this shit. And again, it's crazy to think that was 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, man, you couldn't just go into a gas station and get a protein shake. That didn't exist. You had to find a GNC. You had to find some specialty place. Whereas now, I can't think of a fucking store in America that, like a retail type store that doesn't have some kind of health alternative product. You go into a CVS, you go into a gas station, whatever. So really, there are less and less excuses to like not make the right choice. So it's nice to see that our society is starting to make it easier for you to stay on track. Because I remember going to certain restaurants and certain places and being like, what the fuck am I going to eat here? There's no options. So things have gotten a lot better for health. So we're proud of that, Mike. Congrats on moving. Another thing I wanted to say before we start to wrap this thing up is I'm very proud of my YouTube channel. About a year ago, I decided, you know what? I am going to control my own destiny. I've been in a lot of situations where I've had projects that were going to be really exciting and really fulfilled, and they just didn't go the way I wanted them. And I wanted full control of something that I do. And hey, maybe it's not the right move. Maybe it's not, maybe it's an okay move. Maybe it's a great move, but it's my move. So what I love about my YouTube channel, as simple as it is, and as much as, I'm just posting some behind the scenes clips and things like that. I get to control it all. I get to manipulate everything I put out there. And like I said in the beginning of the show, when you're in this business. You're your own company. You're your own CEO. So having that YouTube channel kind of makes me feel like I've got my own network in a weird way, and like, yeah, it's small and there's only 1,700 people that subscribe to it. We're growing, but it's nice to have something that is completely your own. I can't stress that enough for artists. Collaboration's great. It's great to collaborate, but you need to have something that's all yours and that, it's like, oh yeah, thanks for the suggestion. I'm not going to do that because this is my fucking YouTube channel. Pardon my French. So thank you for all who have subscribed. If you haven't already, go to Tom DeNucci Film. I'm posting a lot of great behind the scenes footage from the collective and from Sins of the Preacher's Wife coming out this week. So please check it out. And they're all short. I try to keep my videos short. I try to make everything under a minute. Just a quick pop that you can watch while you're in line at the bank. All right, so let's finish this thing off. A couple of other episodes that you guys can look forward to in the next 50. We're going to be doing a whole deep dive on the collective. We talked about that, but I think I've got a 2-part episode for Vault coming out down the road. Mike, that's such an important movie to me. That's a movie that really like kind of changed my life in the sense that I still get jobs off of that movie. And there's just a lot to talk about it. So I'd rather not rush it all in one episode. I think maybe we'll break it down and we'll do like pre-production, the origin story and pre-production, and then we'll do like production and post-production and break that bitch up in 2.
Yeah, not to give too much of it away, but I remember when you were in pre-production for Vault, I came over to the porch and you had it was pretty impressive. You had all these notes, like, newspaper sheets, I think is what they call them, like big sheets of paper, blank paper with your handwritten notes, different casting possibilities. You had wish lists and names crossed off and names circled, and it was pretty impressive what you went through. And then I remember being on set for a day in downtown Providence, and here's like 50 guys from New England that I know, and then here's Don Johnson walking in, and then here's Chaz Palminteri walking in. So it was impressive, and it was a movie that I was happy to go see the Rhode Island premiere with you in the Verdi family productions, Woodhaven Verdi films, and then a couple of days later, me and my friend Steve Barrow went just as individuals, just to go enjoy the film on our own terms. So it was a good time, buddy, and that's a good one. I'm looking forward to talking about Vault. I'm happy, once again, Tommy, I've been writing my books, Distance from Avalon, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite. That's available on Amazon. And it's been a good ride here. I think our show has done well. My YouTube stuff is one Mike Messier for Mike's movie reviews. I got very heated about The Flash recently. I had some opinions on that. And also one Pro Wrestling and Sports fan for my pro wrestling fans like Laza, and that's how he found out about me. And then One Man and a Camera Films for my own short films, etc., and Messier Mantra. And this has been a fun ride, Tommy. I'm looking forward to the next 50 episodes. And once again, for the viewers, please comment either on the live feed or on the video if you have any suggestions for future episodes, compliments, concerns, considerations, queries, anything that sounds like that. Leave them in the comments, please.
Yeah, we're excited to hear what you guys think, and we want to make this exciting and informative for you as well. And Mike, real quick, we won't go into it, but here's my take on The Flash, because I actually saw it last week myself.
Oh, great.
Fun movie. Yeah, comic booky, good times. And here was my exact feelings as I was watching the movie. I watched the first hour 20 minutes, and I said to myself, this is fun, it's comic book stuff. It's light. Okay, I can get into this. Sure, Batman, great, awesome. But then I looked at myself, and a lot of these comic book movies do this. You feel like the movie's going to end, and then there's a whole nother fucking storyline that takes place, and you're like, whoa. Like, I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, it's been an hour and a half. How are they going to wrap all this shit up in about 10, 15 minutes? Then I break out my phone. And I look at The Flash running time.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
2 hours and 24 minutes? I got another hour of this shit? I'm like, this is a fucking superhero movie. Okay?
Yeah.
People, stop treating superhero movies like it's Gone with the Wind. Stop treating superhero movies like it's fucking Saving Private Ryan. These are movies for children, okay? If I had a kid, which I don't, but if I did, and maybe someday I will, I wouldn't want to take my little kid to some 2.5 hour movie. They'd be bouncing off the walls. You eat all your candy before the first act's even finished. These movies are too fucking long. So this is me speaking it into the universe. That movie would have been awesome at like an hour and 45 minutes. If they somehow could have curtailed all that extraneous bullshit into a fun little hour and 45-minute romp,
Right.
I would have said The Flash was a lot of fun. But there I am 2 hours in, and I'm like, here's another crazy super. Oh, we're going to be flying again? Oh, now this guy's going to fight this guy. Great. You're all working together. And it's just like, I don't give a shit anymore. So they're just too long. They're too fucking long.
And they always leave you on a note where you know that there's going to be a sequel, regardless. The other thing with The Flash, Tommy, that I said in my review is that there are real plot elements that the new Spider-Man movie, which I think is excellent, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that and The Flash have like 3 or 4 major plot parallels.
Well, listen, everybody's copying everyone, so I'm not surprised that DC and Marvel Comics have a little bit of a West Side Story Switchblade gang fight with their creative teams. It's as simple as this. Hollywood sometimes is so predictable. They're like, wait, multiverses are popular. Quick, write us a multiverse movie right now. We need a multiverse movie. We need it. Because what's great about these multiverse movies is you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't really need to make sense. You can kill people. You can bring them back to life. Oh, but this one's not dead. That one's still alive. It's bullshit, okay? It's all fucking bullshit. And it's weak, lazy story writing. And it's like, get out of jail free card for your creative plot holes.
Right.
Slam it down. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Moving on. We're wrapping this thing up. Next week, we're going to be talking. Actually, guys, Mike said we've been really trying hard to come at you every Tuesday. Next week, we're going to be doing the show on Monday because next Tuesday is Independence Day, baby. We're not talking about a Will Smith and Harry Connick Jr. fighting a bunch of aliens. I'm talking about the actual day where we're having our holiday and shooting off fireworks and hopefully keeping all of our fingers on our hands.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do fireworks because I don't want to blow my fucking face off.
Wasn't that a football player or somebody that lost a finger in a fire?
Very successful football player. He actually won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I can't think of his name, but yeah, the poor bastard was a rookie. He just signed a multi-million-dollar deal, and he blows his fucking 2 fingers off like a
horrible
idiot. Not sorry to call him an idiot, but that's why I have a rule, guys. Tommy DiNucci does not detonate explosive devices.
All right.
If you never detonate an explosive device, there's a good chance you're going to keep all your fingers connected to your fucking palm. So go easy on the fireworks. They really do scare me. So one time a year where it's like, let's make explosions happen and smile about it.
They're not good for cats or dogs either. They're very anti-firework.
Yeah, it is what it is. Well, guys, this has been a blast. Again, please drop down some comments. Actually, let me go through here before we go.
Yeah.
How rude of me.
Yeah, let's see what the comments are.
Let's see what everybody has to say, and we'll wrap things up.
Fireworks are not fireworks are released in Florida on Christmas and on New Year's and several other random holidays.
Yeah, well, Florida has a lot of crazy. Whole another podcast. Okay, Stephen E says, I understand that, Mike. The library is a good friend. I think we already saw that comment. Don Johnson, Miami Vice. Man, Miami Vice was so ahead of its time. Those guys kind of like created the 80s quintessential cool. I got a question.
No, this is interesting.
What goes into and action regarding preparation for and action? Oh, that's a cool question, Laza. Well, Mike and I will get on the phone once in a while and do like a pre-programming session where we'll kind of just try to talk about we don't go too far ahead. We're not talking like 4 or 5 months down the road. But a lot of times we'll just kind of figure out roughly what the next 4 or 5, about a month in advance, because sometimes things will come up that we might want to cover. And then usually Mike and I have like a phone call. We do the show on Tuesday, and we'll usually have like a phone call on like Sunday, chat about it. And then Monday, after we've spoken, I'll put together a list of show notes, hand them off to Mike. And then sometimes Mike will add some of his own show notes. And we'll just go from there. We get on and rock it out. But we do have a little plan, and I appreciate you noticing it, Laza.
Oh, you do a good job with those show notes, Tommy, and those are helpful.
Well, we want to, we don't want to just be up here like, blah, 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 what do I do? All right, Ariana, the 100th episode should be an action episode about creating and action podcast episodes. That's a great idea, and it's kind of funny because it dovetails. I love to say that. It dovetails with what Laza just said. Yep, correct, Mike. Not sure what you're correct about, but I bet you were right.
I'll take it, whatever I said.
I believe you. I love to tell people bullshit stories that Don Johnson is my uncle and that my last name is also being Johnson. I don't think it's bullshit. I think Don Johnson is your uncle. Do one of those ancestry searches. You just never know.
Like Dakota Johnson would be his first cousin.
There you go. Laza says, sounds like the click in pro wrestling with Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly is very disruptive. That's all I'm going to say. Stephen E., you need a nice porch photo album. Brother, that's a great idea, but unfortunately, some of the porch photos would get me indicted. And I might have to go to jail, brother. All right, Charlie Short Films. I will have to leave. Charlie, it was great having you on the show. We hope to see you next week. Remember, Monday, not Tuesday. I know Charlie Short Films is overseas, and they don't celebrate Independence Day. They're not doing the 4th of July overseas. But we'll be, parading around with flags on Tuesday and doing all that fun. Scott, will there be some kind of trailer for the collective? Oh, yes, Scott. In fact, I've already seen the trailer for the collective. It's not out yet, but I approved it the other day, and I'm very excited about it. It's action-packed. It's exciting. You won't be disappointed, Scott. I appreciate you for asking about that. Oh, boy, Steven. 39. Wow, bro. I'm going to take that as a, wow, bro, you look so youthful. I had no idea you were 39. Oh, my God. I just had a nip slip.
Oh, gee whiz.
I just had a nip slip on the show.
Janet Jackson.
Can you imagine? Avert your eyes.
Where's Justin Timberlake with the hand thing?
I can't believe I nip slipped as a distraction to get people off of the fact that I'm 39 years old.
That's right.
Okay. You are 39, not much older than me. I am 37. Laza, that means we played with all the same toys. G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Ghostbusters, all that shit. So true, says Ariana. Second guessing yourself is the kryptonite for an actor, and yet the most common issues actors face. Look, I don't know what it is. It's kind of a funny thing, and this is a whole nother episode, but actors tend to be very insecure. It's weird. You would think that people who are like projecting themselves out like that are totally unabashed, but no, they usually got a lot going on in their head, and sometimes that's what makes them talented.
This is how I encapsulate that, Tommy. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Why are you looking at me? Don't look at me.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. That's a wonderful way to say it. Claudia says, so true. Acting. Got to work that acting muscle. Probably informs your perspective as a director. You're right. And I think you just said a great point there. Acting is a muscle. It's like anything else. Like, for example, like I'm not a good golfer. I don't golf, but like you can't expect to just like go to the sporting goods store, pick up a set of golf clubs and go play 18 and think that you're going to be halfway decent. You might not even be able to hit the ball straight, right? Because you got to do it all the time. So I don't know why people think that like they don't need to train, they don't need to take classes, they can just like roll out of bed and be a great actor, and it's just like impossible. So yeah, you really do have to treat it like any other skill that you're trying to learn. And it really does inform me perspective as a director. Little things, like really little things. Like, I know this sounds nuts, but it's like even things like if I tell an actor, like if an actor is nervous or something, like, I remember one actor was like, this is going to sound funny, but sometimes I'm going to talk about pee. We're going to talk about pee for a second on the show. Yes, folks, urine. Okay. I'm not going to say the name because they're a very famous person. But I was directing an actor, and she had to go to the bathroom, and she was like, I got to pee, but no, it's okay. I can hold it. And I was like, whoa. Because remember, she was being courteous by saying, no, I can hold it, because it's like, she knows that time is money, and she'll pee when we have a break or when we're moving lights. And I said, no, 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 no. And I said, obviously I took her aside. This wasn't like in front of the whole class. I took her aside. I was like, hey, if you got to take a quick break to go to the bathroom, like, please do. I would never, like, anytime you need 5 minutes to pee, we can take those 5 minutes, because I know what it's like to be an actor. And it's like, you got to go real bad. And you're thinking in your head, like, I got to be on point. But like, and sometimes when you get in the thick of a setup, it's like we're shooting and it's like we might not take a break for an hour.
Right.
So it's like in my mind, I'm like, oh man, this poor woman is going to be like holding it in and suffering for potentially 35 minutes. Let's take a fucking break for 5 and go pee.
It helps you too, Tommy, as the director, because her performance might be slightly affected, and even if it isn't, you'll be thinking about that while you're editing as the director. Like,
there are definitely some directors that will be like, yeah, hold it in. We'll get to it. We just got a couple more shots, and I'm just like, no, go pee, and then we'll finish this fucking scene.
Yeah.
So silly, funny story, but hey, we're all humans, and these are like, we can laugh about it like sophomores in high school, or we can look at it like a reality. You're on a movie set for 12 hours, you're drinking water, you're drinking coffee, you're going to have to go. And sometimes it comes up at a moment when you don't really want it to come up. And it's like, being an actor and a director, I'm able to be like, all right, we can afford the 5-minute piss break. Okay, let's see here. Steven says, a lot of questions today. I love this interaction, guys. This makes it a lot of fun for us. I saw a post yesterday. We take care of our homes, our cars, our bills, but we don't take care of our bodies, the main place where we live. Wow, that's a bar. That's a bar right there, Steven.
Yeah.
It's
Steven makes a great point.
It's so true how like all of those other things take precedence. They take priority over, just making sure you're in ship shape.
I heard something, Tommy, like that, where somebody said, if people took care of their own bodies like they did to their pets, we would all be in better shape. And if you thought of yourself as your own sick relative, how much consideration you'd put into your sick relative or to your pet, to your own state of physicality, we'd all be doing a lot better.
You hear that, guys? Treat yourself like a pet. Claudia says, so cool. Self-care and painting. Yeah, Mike, that is really great to do. It's nice to have something that your mind can drift off to and you can just escape. Ariana, people like you are why weird laws like that exist. Hey, listen, nobody said you can't paint and drive. That's all I'm saying. Stephen E says Cumberland Farms has protein cookies. Yeah, man, and that's so great because like 20 years ago, if you asked for a protein cookie at a Cumberland Farms, they'd be like, they would crack an egg. They'd go get 2 eggs from the freezer, and they would crack it onto an Otis Spunkmeyer cookie.
Oh God!
You like that Otis Spunkmeyer name?
Yeah, that's obscure.
Or maybe some Famous Amos. Remember that guy?
I like Famous Amos cookies.
Famous Amos cookies were where it's at. Been a pleasure. Keep up with the great episodes. Thank you, Lazo. Thank you for joining us. I love behind the scenes clips. Well, Claudia, you better check out my YouTube channel because I've been posting them like wildfire over there. A lot of fun stuff. Been posting a lot of the fight choreography scenes from The Collective, which is the movie that I have coming out in August, and that's a lot of fun to check out. I also posted, I'm excited about this. Hey, Anna. What's up, Anna? Anna's one of our old school followers from way back, so it's great to see you. Real quick, I did just post a really cool impromptu video of Tyrese Gibson playing a piano on set and giving a little impromptu concert. So check that out. It's really cool. Stephen E, I think he's talking about some things that he might be looking forward to down the road. Special guests on some episodes, up and coming filmmakers, etc. Claudia, I'm all confused. Stephen, that's definitely something that we do want to do down the road. But you know what the thing with that is? Sometimes it becomes a scheduling thing. And we're just like really adamant about busting this thing out every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Claudia's laughing at something she thinks we're funny. Thank you very much. Mute Mason. Is this your live, Tom DiNucci? It sure is, Mute. What's up, brother? It's good to have you there. Wow, I want to work with you, Tom. Well, I want to work with you too, Mr. Mason. Thank you for checking out the episode with us today. 100th episode. We need a party. That'd be kind of fun. We do like a little and action celebration. I got a banging movie script. Well, brother, I love to hear that. Keep banging away at it. Stephen E, jail? What did you do on the porch? I can't say. I'll indict myself, man. Come on. Yeah, can't wait. Scott, I know you're a big fan of the collective, and you will not be disappointed. Thank you for that. Steven, Tommy, letting the girls out? Yeah, man, I had a nip slip, okay? I have a very low cut. Oh, there it is again. Your comment is literally blocking my nipple.
Oh boy.
Right now. If that comment wasn't there, the whole world would be seeing what some X-rated stuff here.
Only you can prevent forest fires, Stephen E.
Steven, you literally just censored my nipple from the world, so thank you. Claudia is having some fun with the show here. Remember, when we first would chat online, I thought you were in your 20s, bro. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but that was a long time ago. That was many presidents ago.
You have a young chat game, Tommy. Your chat game is young.
Yes, I recall those chats. Tommy and Mike, appreciate you answering my questions. Always, brother. Nip, slip, P. Tom, you are going to the moon. You are
you going to moon the camera next?
Moon the camera. Well, the radio. You know what, Melissa? If I see the little viewer number in the corner of the screen dip a little bit, I might just have to moon the camera. But for today, I think we're going to keep my ass in my pants. Laza, I was in a short film, Don't Hate, Meditate, as a racist Aussie bogan. What's a bogan?
It's like a thug. It's like a tough guy.
I did all right on YouTube. That's
cool. I saw that. I saw Laza's performance in that. That was actually like his first acting thing. He did very well in it, and I was impressed by that.
Good job, Laza. Those Otis Spunkmeyer. See, Otis Spunkmeyer. This guy remembers. A famous Amos worth of shit. And you get a bunch of them in that little bag. Wonderful times. I have, hey, Anna. Also did some online acting coach with Mike. Fly Girl, what's up, Fly Girl? Welcome back. Hey, better late than never. We've been having a lot of fun here on episode 50, just kind of reflecting. And with that, Fly Girl, what a great way to go out. I think that's the last comment of the day, and we really appreciate everybody for hanging in there with us. We went a little over today. We usually try to keep it right at an hour, but we appreciate all the interaction. I'll talk to you guys for 2 hours as long as you keep talking to me. So thank you for all the comments. Keep them coming. And next week, I want to give you a little heads up. We're going to be doing the show on Monday. Look at this humidity, guys. Can you see the humidity? Look at my hair. In this episode, just in the course of this one episode, my hair went from here to like it's just growing outward. Next week, we're coming at you on the 3rd of July, Monday, not Tuesday. I'll be making some announcements just in case anyone forgets. But be on the lookout for us Monday when we talk about a very good friend of mine, a very talented actor, Vincent Pastore, who, if you don't know who that is by name, if you were a fan of The Sopranos, he played Big Pussy on The Sopranos. It's one of the only times that I can actually, because I don't like that word. I really don't like that word.
Big?
Big. No, I don't like the P word. I really don't. But this is one time where I can say Big Pussy because that was his name. If you're a Sopranos fan, check it on out. It's going to be all going down next week right here on my YouTube channel. Like the show, subscribe it, post it on your story. I'm going to share. Let's do some fun stuff. We appreciate you being there with us. And please, feel free to go back and check out some of the first 49 episodes in our back issues. All right, guys, y'all are the best. We miss you when we don't get to see you, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.